Normally get the cool dim of light effects before I come out. How's everybody doing this morning? All right, well, good. Good morning and welcome to the first ever XMAS talk, which is sort of a play or a festive twist on the famous TED Talks. I don't know if anybody's ever watched a TED Talk, but if you have, that's kind of what we're going to do today. It's just a nice little festive twist on that. My name's Tim Griffin, and I'll be hosting today. In real life, when I'm not up here hosting XMAS, I'm a Carmel firefighter, and I have been for 21 years. I was telling some of the students here earlier, I'm also a proud father of 6 daughters. So that's right, 6. So I have a 25-year-old daughter who's adopted and from Germany, and then 5 daughters that are 16, 14, 12, 10, and 8, and a beautiful wife who's really much smarter and more brilliant than I am, and she kind of keeps us all in line. And Christmas is a really big deal to us. We have 3 massive parties. The first one happened last Saturday, like 150 people in my house. It was breathing, no lie. And then Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, huge parties. And then as you saw as you were coming in, the Christkindlmarkt out there is a big deal for us. It's 5 minutes from our house. We probably come here 4, 5, 6 times throughout the season, enjoy the food, the festivities, and just really the feel of walking around. It kind of feels like you're in like a Hallmark movie. Except I'm not reacquainted with my wife from big city guy to small town girl. But anyways, if anybody watches Hallmark movies. So without, we'll move on for me and let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a video here that really kind of gives you an inside look at our Christkindlmarkt and what drives it, the mission, the values that it has, and how important it is to the community here. So we'll go ahead and get this movie started for you. You guys can enjoy that.
The impetus for starting the Carmel Christkindlmarkt really began with the vision of Mayor Jim Brainerd. He had been to Germany on a few different occasions during the holiday time and saw the Christkindlmarkts in Germany and other European countries. And he thought, oh my gosh, this would be amazing for Carmel residents to be able to experience this. So January of 2017, I was at a business networking event and the mayor was there sharing about his vision for the upcoming year. And one of the things he said was, I want to create an authentic German Christmas market right here in Carmel. And immediately tears just began to well up in my eyes because I did spend a year as a foreign exchange student in Germany. And my first holiday experiences with Christmas were with my host family in Germany. And I just went up to him afterwards and said, hi, I'm Maria. I love Germany. I still have contacts there with my host family and friends. And if there's anything I can do to help, I want to be involved as much as I can.
As a German transplant who's been in the United States for a long time and a mom of 2 and my husband, it's really hard for us to get back to Germany. So having the Carmel Christkindlmarkt right here in the heart of Indiana is a little piece of home that we can enjoy every year. It's definitely a tradition. What sets the Carmel Christkindlmarkt apart from all the others is that we are fully staying true to what a Christkindlmarkt or a Weihnachtsmarkt would look like in Germany or anywhere in Europe. And that includes the names on the huts, that includes wood carvers, wood turners, glass blowers, kids' entertainment that is as authentic as possible, really carefully sourced food and products, and our vendors work directly with vendors in Germany. Overall, together with the rest of the team, trying to recreate some of the things that we would do in Germany.
We got involved with the Carmel Christkindlmarkt because Maria reached out to me out of the blue from seeing us in Chicago. And I, didn't know much about Carmel. Looked it up a little bit and thought, it's a smaller market than we're usually doing as far as the city goes. We arranged a visit, but at the time there was a farmer's market going on. It was good to see because I do farmers markets. I do 12 a week in Chicago. Coming to Carmel and seeing that farmers market, and it was a really nice farmers market, really good vendors, really well put together. And then the more I spoke with Maria about it, I really got a feel for how they were doing it right, how they had gone to Germany, had seen markets over there, had seen markets in the US that were successful. And I could tell the city was behind it, and I really thought they had done their homework and were gonna put on a really good market, which is hard to do. What keeps us coming back each year to Carmel is how the market is constantly and continuously growing and expanding. Each year there's a few new booths, there's a few opportunities to try new concepts, there's more people coming out each year. We really appreciate how the community has really embraced it and kind of taken it in as their own.
The mission of the Carmel Christkindlmarkt as a 501c3 is to educate about Germanic culture. One of the ways that we do this is by putting on the Carmel Christkindlmarkt, which allows us to create this amazing venue for this education of our guests. When I think about the Carmel Christkindlmarkt and how it has grown from this idea to now this major event for the state of Indiana and for the city of Carmel, it really feels overwhelming, and just I feel a sense of deep honor to walk around the market and see the smiles, to see it bringing families together, bringing different demographics of people all coming together in this venue and celebrating something that was so meaningful and special to me. There really aren't words for the impact that it has on my heart, and being able to really hold the privilege of sharing another culture that has meant so much to me. There's just a sense of community and joy and love that comes with the market.
We have such a big loving group that have done this from day one. They all bring a smile, they bring that love in their heart to make this event happen and have people make it a tradition, something that they look forward to every year, something that they have their kids experience every year.
We really want to make the market special, and I know it wouldn't be possible without all of the people who are invested in seeing this be a successful event for the city of Carmel, for the state of Indiana, and for all the guests who come from across the Midwest.
Well, hopefully that little video gives you a better idea of what drives the team here at the Carmel Christkindlmarkt. Kind of gives you that inside look and the history of how it started. But today we have the incredible honor of hearing from not only the founder and the CEO of the Carmel Christkindlmarkt, but the president, and that is Maria Adele Rosenfeld. So we're going to hear from her, and she's going to give you kind of some of her professional insights to how this happened, to her early beginnings, and she's going to sprinkle in some really good advice for you to take from here into school, into maybe college, or in the rest of your life. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Maria Adele Rosenfeld.
Thank you so much, Tim. I really appreciate it. The first time I celebrated Christmas, I was 18 years old, living with my host family in Germany. I will never forget the experience I had making vanilla Kipfer, these little crescent cookies with powdered sugar on them, with my host Oma in the kitchen. It was a month-long baking fest as we spent the Advent season preparing cookies, or kekse, for her to deliver to her friends and family. We also got to celebrate Christmas Eve in a 670-year-old stone church in the village with candles lit in our hands. And then that evening, Christmas Eve dinner, and getting to have the experience of the first time seeing real candles being lit on the Christmas tree by my host uncles in Oma's living room. It was absolutely a mesmerizing and life-changing experience for me. You couldn't have convinced 18-year-old Maria that she would now be here, 2024, fast forward, as the president and CEO of the Carmel Christkindlmarkt, the #1 Christkindlmarkt in the United States for 4 years running. Yay! The first 17 years of my life, I lived in rural Indiana, Yorktown, Indiana. How many of you have ever been to Yorktown? Anyone? Hey, one person, yay, go Tigers. I lived in rural Indiana. I had 7 brothers and sisters, so there were 8 children in my family, and my family, like I already said, didn't celebrate Christmas. I was always curious about other cultures. I would sit with the foreign exchange students at lunch. I would always ask them about their culture. I would try some of their food, and I would ask about, how do you say this, and wanted to learn their language. When I was 13, I went to Romania, and I lived for a month serving in an orphanage there. And I learned a little bit about the language and the culture, and I got to eat the food, and it was really a wonderful experience for me. So much so that I went back when I was 16 years old. I learned a few words that stuck with me, kupla chada, mutsumesk, which are thank you and you're welcome. However, it wasn't that fully immersive experience that I was hoping for. I didn't get the opportunity to experience that until I won the scholarship that sent me to Germany for an entire year. At that time, I was able to experience all of the seasons and all of the holidays and celebrations with my host family and really got to experience it at the level that I was hoping for. Once my host family introduced me to the magic of the holiday experience in Germany, I was absolutely hooked. I'll never forget, it was July of 2005. I just newly arrived as an exchange student in Germany. How many of you have ever been to Germany? Anybody? Yes. How many of you have been to Germany in July or in the summertime? Okay. Do you guys remember that how the air conditioning situation was? I heard a couple chuckles. Okay. So there's a lot of everybody has air conditioning, right? No. So my host family didn't have air conditioning. It's not uncommon for there not to be air conditioning when you go into a store or in homes. And so it's hot July day in 2005. We're out and about. And we go into a store and I see a picture maybe on a book or a postcard of something called a Weihnachtspyramide. So it's this little, a piece of art that you'll see in the bottom corner here. And these Weihnachtspyramide, you put the candles in, you light the candles and the heat rises and it turns the blades at the top and there's a spindle down the middle. And there are characters on little plates and the spindle turns the plates on each level. And it just tells a story and it's absolutely beautiful art. So I saw a picture of this as we're out and about, and I said to my host family, what is this? And they said, oh my goodness, you don't know what a Weihnachtspyramide is? So we get home on this hot July day, they unpack the Christmas decorations, they find the Weihnachtspyramide, and this picture was taken of them setting it up on the coffee table in the living room. The curtains are pulled on this hot July day, the candles are lit, and we're all sitting around and watching this Christmas decoration in the middle of summer. And it absolutely was mesmerizing and just touched my heart, the effort that they went to be able to share this piece of their culture with me. And it is absolutely surreal to me that now I'm running a market that sells thousands of these through our vendors to our guests each year. What was just an idea, as you heard about in the video, has become the #1 Christkindlmarkt in the US. We just recently won for the second time Indy's Best Things for Seasonal Attraction. So we're beating out the Indianapolis Motor Speedways and others that were on that list this year. We've been featured in the New York Times, National Geographic. We show up on lists as best holiday destination over and over again throughout the holiday season. So all that sounds really fancy, right? But what does my job actually look like? And how did I get here? Many of you are probably about to explore different job opportunities or educational opportunities. How many of you guys are juniors in the audience? Raise your hand. Okay. Do we have any seniors? Woo, woo, shout out to all the juniors and seniors. Yay, thank you for being here. So many of you are probably looking at college applications. What do I want to do career-wise? Educational opportunities. And I wanted to just share a little bit about my educational and job career journey and how I got to this crazy role of being the CEO of a Christkindlmarkt. I'll tell you a little bit about the daily life. On any given day, you'll see me ringing the opening bell with dignitaries, greeting VIP guests from Germany or otherwise, and I'm on the news at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Sometimes they come at noon and 6 o'clock, and it's exhausting, but absolutely wonderful at the same time because I'm just so passionate about sharing with everyone about this amazing gem that we have here in Carmel that's brought joy to so many people. In the off season, I get to travel to Germany. I get to meet with artisans, connect with our sister cities. I get to help find people and bring them over to our Werkstatt, which is our workshop where they do demonstrations and get to introduce them to you and to our guests. I even get to go to something called Christkindlmarkt conventions. I didn't know that existed until this job. And I get to meet with leaders of Christkindlmarkts from all over the world. Some of these Christkindlmarkts have been around for hundreds of years. And so it's really an honor to be in the room with these amazing people who get to run these iconic markets from all over the world. This last Christkindlmarkt convention that I went to, I actually got to meet a real life count. He owns a castle, and he decided that it would be a good idea to open up the grounds of the castle and create a Christkindlmarkt on his own grounds. And we sat together and got to talk and learn about his journey and how his market works and everything. It was really amazing. One of the best parts of traveling to Germany, like I already mentioned, is being able to make those connections with people there and bring them here and get to introduce them to you. One story that I wanted to share with you guys is about this gentleman in the picture. His name is Christian Werner. And in 2017, when I was selected for the role of running the market, it was May when I started the job. The market needed to open in November. If you've ever planned an event, that's not a lot of time to plan a major event. So in June, I actually went to Germany, and I needed to find people and products to have at our market and have them shipped over in the huts and ready to go by November. So I was going to the little city that I've mentioned before, Seifen, which is our sister city. At that time, it wasn't our sister city, but I knew that that was the city where a lot of these Christmas products were made. And so I was going door to door, and I was introducing myself. I had pictures of what I wanted the market to look like, but I had no pictures of it actually happening because it hadn't happened yet. Pictures of Carmel. So I'm going into these workshops, and I'm introducing myself, sharing about the vision for the market, and inviting them to come sell their products or do demonstrations or just to sell their products to us that we could sell in the hut. And I was at somebody else's workshop, and they said, you need to meet Christian Werner. So they called and said, I'm sending an American over there. Can you hang on just a minute? She's going to be right there. So I go over, and we just start talking, and I start sharing with him the vision. I told him a little bit about my story that I just shared with you about being an exchange student in Germany and how much Christmas had touched my heart. And we had some commonalities, and we shared the same faith, so we were able to talk about that. And after a while, I just said, would you be willing to come to the market and do demonstrations in this first year? And he just looked at me and said, yes, I think I'm supposed to be there. And so in that very first year, Christian Werner and his son Andreas came over and did demonstrations in our Werkstatt, and it launched what is now a series of artisans that come the entire market season. So it was just a great honor to have him come and do that first season. It's these transatlantic heart connections that make our market so very special and so very unique. Another thing that makes our market really special and unique is the food. How many of you guys will fess up that that's why you guys came today? Anybody? Yeah, thanks for being honest. There are so many amazing food items at the market. How many? Do you have a favorite? I'm going to call it a couple people. Is there anybody who would be willing to say what their favorite is? Just shout it out. Let's see. Anybody? Raclette, yes. It's so stinky, but so delicious. How does that happen? Anybody else have a favorite market item? No? Okay, well, I appreciate you guys enjoying the food. I take a lot of effort to make sure that we bring the tastes of Germany here to the market, so even that is part of the cultural experience. I love German food, and it was a challenge for me after coming back from Germany to find that authentic food that I love. So I saw it as a particular challenge to be able to really get the authentic flavors of Germany here at our market. One story I'd like to share. Have any of you tried the Käsespätzle, which is the cheesy noodle dish? Did I hear a yeah? Yeah? Okay. Did you like it? Yes. Oh, it's so good. It's one of my favorite foods. When I lived in Germany, Oma would make it. We would have it at restaurants, and I just couldn't find a good version of it that I really enjoyed here in the US. And so I made it a personal mission of mine to have that here at the market. So I had a local vendor approach me, a 4-day Ray, and they said, we really, really want to be a part of the market, but we don't have an authentic German dish that we serve at our restaurant. Is there something that you could suggest to us that we could make that we could then serve at the market? And I said, oh, could you do Käsespätzle? And they did a couple test rounds, and I did a taste testing. And after a few taste testings, I'm like, this is just not the right flavor profile. When I was fast forward in Germany a few months later at a trade show, I was at a restaurant in Munich, and I'm trying Käsespätzle at this restaurant, and it was the best Käsespätzle I'd ever had in my entire life. So I asked the waiter, I said, hey, I'm Maria, I show my business card, I run a Christkindlmarkt in Carmel. Where's Carmel? Well, do you know Chicago? Yeah, I know Chicago. It's 3 hours of Chicago. And I said, we would love to have Käsespätzle. This is the best Käsespätzle I've ever had. Would you be willing to ask the chef if I could have the recipe? He said, it's a secret recipe. We get asked for it all the time. It's very unique. I'm not allowed to give it out. I already know the answer to that. And I said, well, could you just tell me exactly what cheeses are in here and like what percentage of the different kinds of cheese it is? And he said, well, we do buy it prepackaged, already mixed up, and it has an ingredient label. Let me see what I can do. So he went back to the kitchen, and it's really small. You may not be able to see it, but right here is the ingredient label on the cheese package. So he went back to the kitchen. He took a picture of the ingredient label, brought his cell phone to the table, and he said, hurry, take a picture of the picture on my cell phone. So I pull my phone out. I take a picture of the label, and I'm like, thank you so much. And I immediately send that via WhatsApp to a restaurant owner here in Indiana. He says, I'm on it. Emmentaler Bergkäse, Butterkäse. He ordered them. He shredded it up, put it in the same percentage, this much of this and this much of that. And I came back from Germany. We did another taste testing, and it was the amazing Käsespätzle that you said you so enjoyed. And I encourage you all to try it as you're at the market here today. Another fun story, just really quickly, is the Döner kebab. Have any of you ever tried that one? Yeah, I got to cheer on that. That's awesome. The Döner was another one that I had when I was in Germany. It's the most popular street food in Germany. So you just see it kind of on every corner, as kind of like if you were in a major city and they had a lot of little hot dog stands around. Döner kebab is like that. It's just very popular and prevalent wherever you go. I really wanted to have Döner here at the market, but the bread is very, very special. And so we did a couple of taste testing with a local restaurateur who wanted to have this at the market. He couldn't get the bread right. So he actually flew to Germany, went around, tried Döner at a bunch of different places, understood what was different about the bread, came back, worked with a baker, and perfected the bread. We did another taste testing, and it was absolute perfection. So I get to do a lot of crazy stuff is what I'm telling you. And one piece of advice that I love to share with people is just to embrace every opportunity that comes your way, because you never know what that opportunity will lead to in the future. I couldn't have planned where I am today, but it was just embracing each step of the journey along the way, and then that led to the next step and the next step. One example of this that's really fun is just that I wanted to have some bakery items at the market, and I had set up an appointment to meet with the owner of a bakery in Cologne. And while I was there, she said, hey, would you like to actually work in the bakery with us today? And so I just embraced that opportunity, and I ended up working in the bakery for a day. And I could have never planned that, could have never dreamed that that would be a part of my job or the experience that I would have even had that day, that morning when I woke up. But in just embracing the opportunity, I got to have this amazing experience. So now that you know a little bit about the crazy things that I get to do as the president and CEO of the Christkindlmarkt, you might be asking yourself, what is the career path for this? And it's a crazy journey. It wasn't a straight path, as you might have already picked up on. But for me, it looked like taking one of the biggest risks of my life. And I'll never forget, it was my junior year in high school. Again, shout out to all the juniors in the room. I had learned from my teacher, Frau Kelly. She married an Irishman, but she was born into a German family. And she still visits me at the market. You'll see a picture here of us in the corner on the slide there. that there was a scholarship called the Congress Bundestag Scholarship. In German, it's the Parlamentarische Patenschaftsprogramm, PPP. How many of you have ever heard of it? Have any of you guys heard of this scholarship? Okay, well, yay, I'm so glad I get to share with you about it. Frau Kelly began to tell us about this scholarship that would allow recipients to go to Germany for an entire year for free and live with a host family. It was a government-funded scholarship program, and it was a pretty rigorous application process. With this possibility, I kind of had this feeling like this is really going to change my life if I were to win this. But it was also really scary because if I did win, I would have to pack my bags. What would have been my senior year, I was going to have to graduate a year early, take a summer school class to finish up the credits that I needed, graduate a year early, live in Germany with a host family that I may or may not like for an entire year, not see my friends, not get to walk with my class across the stage. So graduation was in the spring. The scholarship program went from July to July. So I would be back in time to walk with my class. I'd have to bring a huge dictionary around with me wherever I went because this was 2005 to 2006 and I didn't have a cell phone or Google Translate. So I literally brought this to breakfast with me and had to look up words that I didn't know. As well as many other scary and different experiences that I would have to tackle one day at a time, and so much more. But I did win. Yay! And what I gained in place of all of those scary things that I had to learn about and experience was immeasurable. And it was the foundation for the job that I have today, the career that I have today, which I couldn't have known at that time, of course. Ich habe die deutsche Sprache gelernt. I learned to speak German. I got to meet Senator Lugar in Washington, D.C. I got to meet politicians in Germany while I lived there because of the government-sponsored scholarship program. I gained a whole new friend circle, a whole new family circle that I keep in touch with today. One of my friends, Anna, and his wife, Imka, are up in this picture here, and they invited me to their wedding. And I was in this amazing picture with them there, as well as many other experiences that I have had because I took that enormous risk to go and live in Germany for an entire year. And chief among them, of course, was that I got to experience my very first Christmas with my host family while I was there. So I believe it is these authentic relationships that we build, like I built with my host family and friends, that lead us on the path of our career journeys. And like I said, this experience living in Germany for an entire year really laid the foundation for the job that I have today. When I was thinking about if I had career advice for you all, the number one thing that I think has played such a big part in my career is those authentic relationships. Whether it was later when I was in banking or with my time in Germany or now as the CEO of the Christkindlmarkt, the number one thing is building those authentic relationships with people. And speaking of authentic relationships, I wanted to share with you a picture of my host family. So the larger picture is when I was there in 2005, and the smaller picture is when I visited my host family again this past summer in July. I have two host sisters and a host brother who's not pictured in the smaller picture. One host sister already has a little baby, and the other one is pregnant. And they to my great honor, call me Tanta Maria. And when they speak about me to the little ones, they haven't learned to speak yet. So I haven't heard them say it yet, but I'm excited to hear that at some point. It has been a wonderful miracle building those relationships with my host family and friends. And one thing I just wanted to touch on quickly is I have some friends in my life, I say the words, I love networking. And networking sometimes can have a little bit of a negative connotation where you're trying to build a relationship with someone to kind of get something back from them. And to me, I define networking as being your authentic self in building authentic relationships with people to see what it is that you can do to help them and benefit them. And then it authentically develops into a relationship where you just want to help each other. And eventually that leads to them maybe introducing you to someone that might be the person that you get a job from at some point, or introducing you to someone who can give you advice about something that you need. And so again, just being your authentic self is such an important part of your career journey. I also wanted to tell you guys a quick story about some very authentic adventures that I've had with these two special friends of mine, Moshe and Anna. I already mentioned Anna and how I was at his wedding. I was also at Moshe's wedding with his wife, Dorta. But one year in 2011, I decided to sign up for the mini marathon. Have any of you ever run the mini marathon? Oh, yay! High five! It's a big feat. That's incredible. Good job. So I signed up. I was like, I'm going to do this. And I had told my friends in Germany about this. They'd both never been to the United States before and had it kind of on their bucket list, like they're going to do this at some point. So they decided, you know what? We're just going to go to the US and we're going to surprise Maria and cheer her on at the mini marathon. So it is the night before the race, and I'm supposed to be carb loading and getting into bed early. And I get a call from them and they said, "Hello, Maria." And I said, "Hi guys, what's going on?" And they said, "We're at the airport." And I said, "What airport?" They said, "The Indianapolis airport." This is 2011, so this is pre-Uber. And they said, "We just thought there would be public transportation from the airport to your house in Westfield, and there isn't any. Can you come and pick us up?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, what are you doing?" So I have had so many fun experiences with them, and they came, they cheered me on at the race, and we figured out transportation for them. But it was a very funny experience. I've had, again, so many adventures because of that risk that I took just to fill out that application that year, my junior year in high school. As I've already said, my career path hasn't been straight. It's been kind of curvy and crazy. I got back from Germany in 2006, and I couldn't afford to go to college. I had 7 brothers and sisters, and college wasn't something that my parents could pay for, and I didn't have enough scholarship funding to be able to jump into that first year. So I had to start working right away. And I worked a lot of different jobs right after I got back, but I had the great opportunity to work in banking, and I was hired as a personal banker for Old National Bank. They had something called Old National University, and Old National University was a school program that took you through to learn all about banking. So I ended up spending 10 years in banking, and through that, I just decided I am going to treat this like this is my university for real. And I'm going to learn everything I possibly can. I'm going to volunteer every opportunity I have. I'm going to job shadow those in this field that I admire. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to take notes, and I'm going to learn as much as I can. I volunteered, like I said, at every opportunity. And I think that is another piece that I would say has allowed me to be where I am today and to have moved so quickly through up in my career in the banking industry and also into this role. When I was in banking, I volunteered to help mentor the new employees as they came in. I volunteered at church for church camp. I volunteered for galas and silent auctions. I volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. I was a young life leader, all kinds of different experiences that I just genuinely thought were interesting and fun, and I wanted to bring my authentic self to them. When you put your whole heart into your work or your volunteering, again, you connect with people that are unexpected, and it just opens doors that you would never anticipate. You never know the connections that you'll make that will be beneficial to you later, or the skill sets that you'll learn in these volunteer roles that will be useful to you later. You'll be so surprised what you learn. I couldn't have realized that I was actually growing my skill set by volunteering for those things, for things that would serve me in this role today. So when I was doing that volunteer work, I didn't know I was going to be the CEO of a Christkindlmarkt, but I grew skill sets in those volunteer roles that absolutely serve me today. So for example, I learned about fundraising. when I was helping with the galas. I learned about volunteer management when I volunteered to be the volunteer coordinator for a silent auction. I learned about volunteer coordinating and leading teams when I was leading all the camp counselors as a camp director for the church kids church camp that I led. I also learned in my job as a branch manager about leading through difficult times. So in my various roles at the bank and various roles in volunteering, I was just growing these skills that I would need, that I have to use on a daily basis today. In 2017, this is a picture of the market. How many of you went to the market in 2017? Anybody? Oh, really? Oh, that makes me so happy that you guys, have you been every year? Oh, I love that. 2 head nods. Anybody else that I missed? Oh, that makes me so happy. That is really exciting. Do you have each of the boot marks? No. Oh, yes, you do. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Oh, very cool. Well, the market was a baby market at that time. So there's a walkway from out of this building across to the Palladium, and the market was just on the west side of that walkway. So it was the ice rink with a couple rows of huts here and a couple rows of huts there, and that's all that it was. Even though it looks small now, it was a huge monumental task and quite a difficult thing to pull off in such a short amount of time. But we did it. And I couldn't have imagined that I had never done anything like this before, never been a part of something that was of this size, scale, notoriety. All eyes were on it. Is this a good idea? Is it not? Is it going to succeed or fail? I had to lean into those skill sets that I just talked about, and they really did serve me well. I'm going to take just a second and ask you guys to trust me. Will you guys trust me for a second? Yes? Okay, I'm going to ask you to do something weird. I'm going to ask you just to close your eyes. It's just going to be for a couple seconds. Promise. All right. If there were no limits, no money, time wasn't an object, nothing was any hindrance, where would you travel to? What risks would you want to take? What sport do you want to learn? Craft or skill set? What language? I'm going to just be silent for a second. Just think about what's a risk that you kind of want to take. How would that feel? Would it be a little scary? All right, you can open your eyes. For me, that risk was filling out that application my junior year in high school, getting the teacher recommendations, putting the application in the mail. And then when I got the phone call that I passed round 1, showing up to the panel interview with 4 teachers, asking me questions, and so on. It was just one step after another. And each step I was taking, I didn't know it at that time, but it was actually leading me to be here on this stage with each of you today. I'm so glad I took that risk so that we could have this time here together. Go back to what you were dreaming of just a moment ago and think to yourself, what's that next tiny baby step that I can take that might lead to a big adventure and fast forwarding in your career to be on a stage speaking to a group of students about what you do. So I would say to you about that risk that you're thinking about and that next baby step that you're thinking about taking, I would say, mach es. Do it. Thank you.
Maria, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
I got to hear it again. I heard a little bit of it yesterday. So inspiring, really a lot of things that you guys can take back, like we talked about, and use throughout your career, school, and life. But now we have some participation. So we've got a short time to get a couple of questions. So anybody have any questions for Maria? Stepping down here. Oh, somebody, I got a hand up here. Sorry, I got the light in my eye, so it's hard to see. What's your name? Yeah. Ty? All right, what's your question?
Were there any challenges towards starting the Christkindlmarkt?
A few. There were a few. There were many challenges. One of them was, in that first year, I'd have to go back and look, but we had a little over 30 huts that needed to be filled. And when you have these huts and you need to have product in it or food in it, and then those vendors have to put quite a bit of investment into just being able to be there for 6 weeks. And you don't know how many people are going to come, so you don't know how much product to order, and you don't know how much food you're going to need to be prepared each day. Like, should I make 5 bratwurst or 500 bratwurst? And so we had to make these huge guesstimates, and then I had to go out and try to sell the concept to people who would sell the products in the food. So can you imagine, like in that video, Joe Burns that had the booth in Chicago? I'm calling him, and he's at the Chicago market, which has been around for 30 years, selling the raclette, the stinky cheese that this gentleman here liked. And I'm calling him and saying, hey, I've got a new market. Would you be willing to have a booth here? And he's like, is it going to be successful? How much am I going to sell? Is it going to be worth it? And then to product vendors, I think it's even a little more risky because they've got to buy all the products 6 months in advance to be made and shipped over here to sell in their booth. So that was the largest obstacle, honestly, was just convincing people that it was a good idea and that they should be a part of the market.
All right, another question? All right, I'll slide over here to you. What's your name? What was that? Laura? All right, here you go. Go ahead.
If there was anything that you could do differently, what would it be?
So many things. Do you mean specifically career-wise or with the market, or because I might need a little more with the market? Okay, that's helpful. Oh, that's a good question. I think maybe just a little bit different. There's so many things in my brain right now. I'm so sorry. I'm struggling. I think in particular, working with the vendors and just finding the right vendors. I would know better now how to talk about the experience of the market and the future of the market to be able to work with them on their booths and their booth concepts. I think that's one thing that I would do a little differently.
All right, we got time for one more question.
Okay.
All right, my man right there. What's your name? David? All right.
Hello, you mentioned earlier that you spent time in Romania.
Yes.
And my family is from Romania, and we go back every couple of years.
I hope
And
I said mulțumesc and Cupichana correctly.
And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that, where you went, and how that impacted where you are today.
Yes. The first year I worked in an orphanage in Timișoara, and I was in Bucharest as well. And I also went to Transylvania, but just for like a day visit to the castle, of course. And then the second year I was in Cluj. The orphanage I served in was in Cluj that year. And it was absolutely just mesmerizing and also heartbreaking. I'm sure if your family's from there, you know a little bit about the history of the country and the orphan situation there. And so it was very difficult, but also very beautiful. Thank you.
All right, well, Maria, thank you again so much. And thank you guys for participating and being a part of today. Maria, you have to get to ringing the bell.
Yeah, we got to ring that opening bell.
And if you haven't, if we're able to slide out here quickly, you guys can also get out and see the market kind of being rung into its opening bell. So
awesome. Thank you all so much for coming. Enjoy the market.